CFR? It doesn't really matter. Okay. It was launched in 2001. But we have to go back in time to see where the Common European Framework came from and where it is also informing and leading English profile. Now in '71, the Council of Europe, which is located in Strasbourg in France, if you prefer, they started looking at language knowledge and skills and trying to give descriptions for the English language. And out of that, in the 90s, came some important publications back in the 90s, okay, that some of you might know. Wastage, Threshold, and Vantage, which were also published in English by Cambridge University Press for the Council of Europe, okay? And what they did, they looked at knowledge and level at different levels, okay? And this led in 2001 to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, dealing with learning, teaching, and assessment, okay? Has anyone read the whole book? Yeah? There's parts of it like that? Yeah. It's very soporific. It's a good book to put on your night table if you have trouble sleeping at night because, yeah, it's a bad joke. It's a very serious book. And some of the nicest things about it are the appendices, or the appendixes, you can say both, in the back of the book, okay? Anyhow, for me, some of you have read a lot of it, you can tell me if you disagree. For me, the three things about the Common European Framework are, oh, I got my joke first, okay? I have to go to this, okay? So how did that come? All right, so the Common European Framework, okay? So we had some there were some language specialists around the table in Strasbourg, and on the table there were all sorts of pieces of paper, okay? And these are what we now call can-do statements. You've all heard this, can-do statements. So you have these specialists around the table, and one woman picks up something called a can-do statement and says, B2 or not B2? That is the question, okay? And that's what they were sort of doing, okay? Let's see. Can make a polite request, okay? Is that a high level or a low level? Can make a polite request, okay? Can you speak more slowly, Gary? That would be very, any student can probably at a low level can do that. So let's put that down in an A. Let's pick up another one, okay? Can write a job application. Oh, low level? No. B level, sort of intermediate, high intermediate? Okay, possibly, exactly. And that's what they were doing, taking this whole language, the language mountain, and trying to break it down into, well, how do you climb a mountain? You climb a mountain one step at a time. So try and break down the language mountain one step at a time. So now we have common reference levels, which are used around the world, all right? From A up to C, C2, from A1 to C2. And the idea of this is, we used to talk about, real beginner, pre-intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced and all of that, which is fine in a way, but if we can have these things which are recognized around the world, then, if one of your students or some of your students change a school in your city, then A2 is going to be something that everyone will understand little by little. If they go to a different country, a different city in your country, that'll work. If they go to a different country, okay, and it's something that people, when they get this, they can put on their CV, their resume, if you prefer American English. Now, how were those determined? Well, those were determined by what we call can-do statements, what people can do at different levels. Because, learning a language, it can be very frustrating. I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. Stinking thinking. You think of the language mountain, I'm never going to be able to understand Shakespeare or whatever. But if you think of it doing what you can do at different levels, then it can be something that learners can do, not can't do. We're thinking positively, all right? And another very important thing that the CEF or CEFR talked about is this idea of learner autonomy, lifelong learning. My French is very good. I have a C2 level in French because I took a Cambridge exam in business English, okay? I have a C2 level, but I'm still learning French. You who are learning a form, my friend here has proficiency. He told me he got proficiency in November. But I bet you're still learning English, okay? Like that all the time, and I'm sure all of you are, because learning a language is a lifelong journey, okay? And often it's done by learner autonomy, and you have to do it by yourself. I bet no one in this room learned most of their foreign language only in the classroom with their teacher, did you? No, you're learning it on your own by doing different things, you know, stopping people in the street and saying, oh, you're speaking English, may I talk with you in English, okay? Or reading or listening to things. And the other thing is, expose them to cross-cultural awareness, this idea that English or any language, well, and most languages, most international languages, they're cross-cultural. Be aware of the cross-cultural differences, okay? So now we have these CEF levels from A, B, up to C. If you don't like the steps like that, we can reverse it and we can see in all 4 skills how people are broadening their competence in the 4 skills, okay? But let's look at a CEF can-do statement. Let's see. Can write a letter for a specified purpose. Well, can do successfully at B1, can do better at B2, at C1 can do very well, and at C2 they have these things, speed, fluency, independence, okay? I mean, that could be important, but the thing is, how do we characterize these skills? What's the language that they need to do these various can-do statements, all right? In other words, if you know this tale of the emperor's new clothes, do you know this tale here, Emperor's New Clothes? You know, this emperor is so, egotistical and all that, and these people trick him by giving him an invisible suit of clothes, and he goes parading around half naked, or naked if you want. And if we think of this, if you like the image, the analogy, we've sort of been parading the emperor CEF or CEFR around a little bit without clothes, all right? And that's one thing that CEF is going, Angela, okay, made me lose my train of thought here. Let's see, let's go from that. That's what English profile is going to do, is to give clothes to the emperor, clothes for different situations. You know, clothes sometimes for formal, for informal, for business, for gala parties. You know, there are different types of clothes for different types of occasions, okay? So what we're going to try and do is find out what these can-do statements mean in practice. What language attaches to the can-do statements? What are the criterial differences? You could explain that, although I have an explanation here. Across the 6 levels from A1 to C2. All right? And what English Profile is going to do is to give linguistic detail, not just for what they can do, but also the vocabulary, the grammar, the functions, and the phonology at the different levels for the different can-do statements. Everyone with me so far? Okay? No falling asleep in the back? Okay. So in other words, to build on these can-do statements, grammatical constructions, and where are they started, where do they start to be done accurately? What's the lexical range at each level? How does the language from learners compare with native speakers? Okay. And also these criterial differences is what linguistic features characterize and distinguish the 6 levels, the criterial differences at the different levels. Okay. So, what it is, all right? Different partners working on this long-term research program to understand what CEF or CEFR means for English. Investigate learner English, all right, and also develop reference descriptions for each CEF level. Why do we need it? Well, CEF, you know about it here, and it's being used more and more around the world. In Chile, they're tying their national curriculum to the CEF levels, okay? In Slovakia, I was there. They're tying it there. Korea, I was there a couple of, doesn't matter, I was there this year. In Korea, and also they're starting with the CEF level also, okay? Even though they use American English, but still, you know, it's for all languages. For the moment, we have a broad brush description okay? But maybe we need some specific criteria. You know, a broad brush, okay? Do you know Picasso? Think of a portrait of Picasso, okay? Do you know Rembrandt? Now think of a portrait by Rembrandt, all these details and all of that, okay? So trying to do more than a Picasso sort of a broad brush to give actual detail to the can-do statements, okay? And make these criteria concrete and more objective, all right? We have a lot of expert opinion and judgment about it, but maybe not objective verification. However, we can use corpuses, okay, to actually see and use the language. We'll talk about what a corpus is. I have a bad joke about that, but I'm sure you all know what a corpus is already, okay? So we'll look at level descriptions for all levels, you know, the CEF, and try to get a core curriculum for English, okay? Using the curriculum syllabus and all of this, the principles and the approaches of the Common European Framework. Okay? Who's in it? Well, if you're a linear person, there are the organizations who are involved in it. The two Cambridges, the British Council is involved, okay? English UK is a private language school chain in the UK, all right? I'm going to invite you to get involved. She sort of wants to, I think. Okay. If you're not a linear person, if you're a visual person, there are the logos. Okay? So some pretty important partners. Okay. In other words, don't try and read this. I can't even read it like that. But I'll just do something that you're not supposed to do, is read your slides. But I'm going to read it. Because Dr. Tony Green said something at the beginning of the English Profile Project that, just listen, there's been a long history of teaching, testing, and applied linguistics, each working separately. The idea of English profile is logical to create one area to bring these different spheres together. Applied linguists like you, practitioners, teachers, and learners, people who are testing, and people who are teaching, to bring them all together. What's it for? Well, the aim then, and the approach. The aim is, I've already said, is a single unified description, and again using corpora, evidence from corpora to inform this. Okay. One thing that's been found out, that the C level, all of you are C level, I'm pretty sure, okay? We haven't got much for the C level like that. What distinguishes C level learners from B level learners, okay? Is it just anything you can do at B2, I can do better? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to sing again. But when I was a little boy, my father liked Broadway musicals. You know Broadway musicals? You probably don't know Annie, Get Your Gun. Annie, Get Your Gun is a Broadway musical about a cowgirl who thinks she can do things better than the cowboys. And she sings, I can do anything you can do better. I can do anything better than you. And the boys say, no, you can't. She says, yes, I can. Sort of a fun song. But I mean, what does that do as far as here? I'm a C2 level, so I can do this better than you at a B2 level. But how do they do it? Okay? In other words, at that level, we had wastage. At that level, we had threshold advantage. But at the C level, there hadn't been a lot done for C level learners. What's spoken fluency? A very important, not a partner, Leah's sort of a partner. A very important person involved in the English profile is a man named Michael McCarthy. Professor Michael McCarthy, very involved in corpus linguistics, particularly spoken. Okay? And what is spoken fluency? Is it just you can talk fast? Okay? He's looking at things like that. At a C level, people can use chunks of language. Chunks of language, collocations, chunks of language, okay? And can they link his or her turn? Okay, this is very important, linking the turn. Michael talks about, Professor McCarthy talks about the importance of being a fluent speaker, but also the importance in interaction of being a confluent speaker, right? Okay, what about you? I see your point, but do you agree or disagree? This interaction like that, confluent rivers running together is his image. And also at a C level, funnily enough, C level learners can use these little words I just meant. Actually, I didn't mean that. Interjections, spoken discourse markers. I mean, what do you mean? All these little words are coming, okay? Now, English profile is corpus and form. The researcher's been looking at a lot of corpora and starting its own Cambridge English profile corpus. I'm going to invite you to give data or data, okay, data, whatever like that. What is a corpus? Everyone knows what a corpus is, so my bad joke. That's what a corpus is not, okay? That isn't a corpus, that is a corpse, a dead body. It's not a real dead body, I didn't want to scare you. But of course a corpus is a living, growing body of language. Held on a computer, a stupid computer, as a database. I say a stupid computer because a programmer has to tell the computer what to do, okay? Help us find out more about language, and in this case, English, but it doesn't have to be just English. I'm sure there are corpora of Hindi, of everything. Any language can have this. The Cambridge English corpus is the one that was used a lot, and I don't know why that doesn't come out like that, but I'm sorry about that. Anyhow, we'll get back to that. Written language, spoken language. Is there a difference between written language and spoken language? Yes. Of course, stupid question here, right? And also this corpus is looking at academic English. What's that say? Business English. A difference between business English and general English?
Completely.
Completely. Academic English also? Yes. You know, at the gala dinner tonight, we're having a friendly conversation, my friend and I say, furthermore, moreover, in terms of, you know, if I'm using this academics discourse markers and all that, she's going to say, who is this guy? It's just a friendly conversation. So of course it's different, okay? Particularly, we can use spoken and written corpora to find out how words are used and the meanings are changing, which are the most frequent at the different levels. The different senses of a word, okay? Back, get back, back pocket, take that back. You know, back is that little word, a key word, but there are many different senses to back. And when they use formally, informally, are they mainly spoken American versus British English? Okay? For example, a new word that you may or may not know is cyber slacking. Do you know this word?
Yes.
Okay, there's a definition. So if the learner knows this is a word that's coming into English, then the person sees a cartoon like this and can realize that he's been cyber slacking, not doing his job, and he's got fired. Another one that has come from business English into general English is to think outside the box, which I'm sure you all know. There's a definition. It started in business English, and now it's come into general English. So if the learner knows this new idiom like that, can understand this cartoon. Okay? That's what I want my cat to do, is to think inside the box, not outside the box. Okay? Just some jokes. So, real language data, what is frequent, typical patterns of language, all right? Change over time, because the corpus is outdated. One example is, oh, it's raining cats and dogs. You all know this expression, okay? Where is it used now? Mainly only in English classrooms. You won't hear it out there, okay? A new one that has come in is, you know, it's not my cup of tea. People still say that. Brits still say that. It's not my cup of tea. But also a new one is, nah, that doesn't float my boat. A little idiom. So the language is changing, is what I'm just trying to say, okay? And English profile use corpora to find out how learners can do this, different things, okay? Helps us, who's us? Teachers, applied linguists, researchers, learners, how people, when they speak and when they write. And we've already said that there's a difference between speaking and writing. So let's see, how are we doing for time? You want to do a little quiz?
Yes.
Yeah, a little quiz, okay? Like that. You don't have to write it, you can just think. The difference between spoken and written language. This is from a book called The Cambridge Grammar of English, which is looking at the difference between spoken and written, okay? By Michael McCarthy and Ronald Carter, okay? So let's try this. Don't say it, just think for a minute, and then we'll see if we agree on the answers. In spoken English, shh. What do you think is the most common word? Shh. Okay. 2. Must. In spoken English is most commonly used to express obligation. You must not smoke in this room. Is that the way it's most often used in spoken English? 3. When people are talking, do they say he isn't, she isn't, or he's not, she's not more frequently? Both are correct, but in spoken English, what do you think people use more often?
Contraction.
Shh. Shh. Well, they're both sort of contractions. Okay. Anyway, in spoken English, is it used as an adverb? I'm going to finish in 32 minutes any way I can. In any manner. A manner of, what is that? An adverb of manner? I don't know. Like that. True or false in spoken English? Well, let's see. What do you think? The most common word in spoken English? I, says someone. People, when they're speaking, they like to talk a lot about themselves. I. And a common, one of the top 50 chunks of spoken English, a 2-word chunk, is you know. Okay? Yeah. And it doesn't mean you know the answer. It's a, you know what I mean, you know. Okay? Must. In spoken English, is it for obligation? Some people are saying no. How is it used?
It must be.
90% of the time it's for deduction or prediction, if you prefer. Okay? Like that. You get home, are you going home tomorrow night? Some of you live a long way. Okay? And you get home and your partner or your family say, oh, mommy, daddy, whatever like that. You say, you must be tired. You must be hungry. You've been traveling. It doesn't mean you have to be tired. You know, I'm predicting you've been traveling. You must be. Okay? What about this one? When people are speaking, she isn't, she's not.
Isn't.
Nope, it's the other way around. After pronouns, it's he's not, she's not, they're not. Both are correct, but more people more often when they're speaking say she's not, he's not, they're not here. Okay? Like that. Why do you think they do this? It's shorter when you're speaking. Okay? You know, it's easier to say he's not than he isn't, like that. Okay? It's just something. Let's be clear here. It doesn't mean that if a learner says she isn't, okay, that's not incorrect. Of course not. But we can use this information to expose learner to what's most frequent. Okay? Both are fine, of course. Anyway, as an adverb of manner, true or false? False, everyone's saying, so how is it used?
Well, anyway.
Yeah, anyway, like that. A discourse marker. Anyway, I gotta go. We're talking, you know, and I'm boring her at the gala. Are you coming to the gala dinner? Okay, I'm boring her at the gala dinner, and so she wants to change the conversation, but she's very polite. So she says, anyway, Gary, what do you think? A way to change the conversation, to cut the conversation. Nice talking to you. Anyway, I gotta go. Okay? So these little things of spoken English. Okay? In other words, what this is pointing out is that in unplanned speech, you know, we all know about grammar, past participle, stative, active verbs, adverbs of frequency, adverbs of manner, you know, all this jargon that we use all the time. But in unplanned speech, people don't always speak subject, verb, object. Sometimes the object could come at the beginning and the subject at the end because it's unplanned. People soften and hedge when they're speaking. If you've had this in class, you know you're having a class discussion that all of a sudden turns into a debate and one learner says to another, no, you're wrong, I disagree. You know, that cuts conversation. But when people are talking, usually in any language, of course, you know what they're, well, I see your point, but maybe on the other hand, okay, they soften and they hedge. All right? Two-step and echo questions. Echo questions we all know. How are you? I'm fine. What about you? But research shows also that when people are speaking, native speakers and all of this, they use what are called two-step questions. It's not just like you start class on Monday morning. What did you do last weekend? No. People, when they're talking, they say because they know each other. So what did you do last weekend? Did you go to a club or did you have a picnic or what? Okay? So again, we can expose learners to natural language. And people approximate or exaggerate a lot, okay? And when they're talking, okay? Some of you might, I think I was talking with Angela there, and she says, oh, I've been to Hyderabad 100 times. You were probably exaggerating a little. Okay, well, I'm just using you as an example like that, okay? And people approximate. Stuff is a very important word in spoken language. Stuff. Go to the publisher stands, okay, and look at the dictionaries, look at the course books, look at the grammars, look at the photocopiables, look at the readers. Look, am I boring you yet? Yeah, I would hope so. You know, go to the publisher stands, look at course books, dictionaries, and stuff. Okay? Something else. All these little things. I don't think we'll do response tokens. We don't have time. Too bad. This Grammar of English now, which was a high-level academic book, the research is now going into English grammar today, because now we can look at, that doesn't come out at all. I'm very sorry. That is actually part of the Cambridge English Corpus, which is called the Cambridge Learner Corpus. All right? And the Cambridge Learner Corpus, there's black behind that, but anyhow, I don't know. It's a joint corpus between the two Cambridges. Just a little thing. This is the 100th year anniversary centenary of Cambridge exams. And for this, they've rebranded or renamed themselves Cambridge English Language Assessment. Okay? Just a little thing like that. Anyhow, and this corpus between the two Cambridges, if I can say that, it's a unique tool. Because what we can do is use examples from learners taking Cambridge exams from A1 up to C2, from even young learners up to proficiency. Okay? Learners are asked, would you mind if we use your data for the Cambridge Learner Corpus? And we can put in, okay, an error coding system. Okay? It's a unique sort. And there are 88 different codes. All right? And we can run searches on this, the corpus linguist. Corpus linguists always have very thick glasses because they're always in front of that. Okay? You know, all sorts of codes. Don't try and, but the codes are a little like probably what you do when you do writing. You get back written compositions from your learners, and instead of writing wrong verb or wrong word choice, you have I hope you do something like this. You have abbreviations with your learners so they know. You know, SP spelling. Okay? So we can put that in. This one is just S, and we can say there are some spelling mistakes. We can look here at make and do. Make and do in a lot of languages, coming from another language into English, make and do is a challenge for learners. Is it for the learners you're teaching? Complete, she says. Okay, very good. So we can look in there, we can see it's the wrong verb. Sometimes they're using make when they should be using do, and sometimes they're using do when they should be using make. And sometimes they get it correct. Okay? Okay. And then we can put this in, and we can see that, look there, it starts at about a B1 level that they're getting it correct. They're using and they're trying it at A and A2, and they're making all sorts of mistakes, but then at B1 and B2 down there. All right? Let's try another one. Looking forward to. No, don't, let's go this. All right. Too quickly. There we go. Looking forward to, another thing that comes from the Cambridge Learners Corpus. At A level, they don't even try it. Okay? And then at B level, making all sorts of mistakes. And then down here, they're starting to get it right. Okay? And we can use that information. How does this miracle occur, is what that's supposed to mean. You know? How does it occur? Well, we can use this information mathematically, because of corpus linguists, to do that. What about the past simple? Particularly, we won't look into all of this. When do you think the learners can use the past simple correctly? At what level? Just throw it out. It doesn't matter.
A2.
A2, says the lady in the front. I'm echoing, sorry, but I'm going to do that. Well, let's look there. This is all sorts of things. Don't worry about it. You know, you can really look at it in depth for grammar here, like that. Well, at A2, they're starting to try. All right, and then at about a C, it seems the past tense in all of its various forms, inflection, word order, that they're actually using it. So that's where the miracle occurs. okay? And then we can use that information to see how we can help learners particularly. Okay, put that in English Grammar Today, a workbook for learners. So, functions also, English Profile is going to look into grammar. It's somewhat started. Look into functions of language. There are research studies done on functions. On phonology also, all right? This is when do learners start to get that? I'm not sure what one of the phonological challenges is here. For a lot of learners, it's E, T, D, okay? Or it might be inflection, okay? In Paris now, they just put on a very nice, in the new metros, metros, underground, subways, whatever you want to call them, are automatized. Is that right? Automatized now. And before every station, it's a very nice thing, what they do in 3 different languages. Okay, sometimes it's Chinese, usually it's French, English, and German, but it depends, or Spanish. It depends on the metro station. But anyhow, what they do in 3 different languages is they say, I live near Nation. Okay, so they say Nation about a half a minute before you arrive, and then when you arrive just before, it's Nation. Okay, nation, nation. Okay, knowing you're going to arrive like that. Little things like that. Okay, the thing that's the furthest advanced on this is English Vocabulary Profile. The English Vocabulary Profile is going to give levels from vocabulary lexical information from A1 to C2. Again, not just the individual word, but the sense level. Okay? Looking at native speaker corpus and finding out learners can do and when they can use it. And we can put this into materials for classroom practice. Published materials or materials that you can use yourself. Okay, because you have access to the English vocabulary profile for free if you want. And there's British and American English. All right, that's the home page of English Profile. You register for free. Every couple of weeks you get something called the Word of the Week. But more importantly, you can have a free subscription to the English Vocabulary Profile. Because it's further along than the phonology, than the functions, than the grammar. Okay? What's the word of the week? A couple of weeks ago, it was gather. And I'm sorry this is not all that clear, but hey, life's not perfect. Life ain't perfect, my father tried to teach me. Anyhow, here's one, gather, come together, to gather together, to collect, gathering flowers. I was outside, I shouldn't say this, but I was outside smoking and I gathered this. What's this flower called? It's beautiful. You know these trees out there?
Champa.
It's called
In Hindi, champa, it's the frangipani actually, it's the Japanese flower.
Okay, beautiful little trees out there.
Brought into India, called the champa in
Yeah,
India.
they're wonderful like that. Anyhow, so we can get this. And we also get examples of where it was used correctly at the different levels. Okay? I can't see that. Let's see. B2, B2. So, what is English Vocabulary Profile? We're giving vocabulary list, if you want, at the different levels of the Common European Framework. What can you find in it? This is from the website. Go look at the website. You can find all sorts of things in it for each individual word. For example, sorry again, guys. This is the search engine that you can use. Is it a search engine or a search function? I don't know what it's called. But anyhow, hopefully you can see, you can choose British or American English. You can go A1 to C2 individually, or you can go from A1 to C2. I put in delight. It's a delight being here in India. Okay, I'm delighted. Okay, and we see that here it's actually used at B2 is when learners are starting to use it correctly. And here's some dictionary examples and a learner example from a person who took the first certificate, a Russian person. So we have the word, the pronunciation, in this case in British English, okay, a description from the dictionaries, and also a learner example. And you can work with the English Vocabulary Profile. Now, just different ways you can search on it. I can't remember what I did here, guys. Let's see. Oh yeah, I looked at B1. I wanted all of the words at a B1 level, the most frequent words at a B1 level. And this is just A, but there are 49 pages. Okay, you can see, oh, that's what a B1 level. Okay, that's a lot. Well, let's try another search. This one I searched for, because you have an advanced search here, words that have to do with communication. And I said I want from A1 to C2. And this is the last page of that. That was the first page, A, and this is the last page. And I have words here to write to communicate, to write to produce, to write to create, yell as a verb. Stop yelling, Eric. Yell as a noun. Did you hear that? Yell, like that. And we have also the different levels from A1 to write, okay, to where's the C level thing. C1, to write up something, okay, to write something up. All right, maybe some of you are going to write a report up before you go back to your school. You can search for different things. That was an advanced search. I think I have one more here. Idioms. I looked at idioms here, and this is idioms at, I can't actually see there, okay? Idioms, 7 pages of idioms that come up. And of course, as you would expect, idioms come up at A level. More often they come up at B and C level. Okay? Just some examples I'm trying to give you of how you can go for free and look at that and start using it. Oh, how are we doing, guys? Oh, good. All right. We'll try and finish on time. Have about 5 minutes of questions in about 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes as we go away with the song. Is that okay? Everyone all right? Want to stretch a little? You don't have to, but I feel like it. All right. So that was the home page. You go there, okay? You get this free subscription to English vocabulary. You can look at the English profile journals. You can look at the research. All right? There's all sorts of things you can do there. Okay? There's all sorts of things. Professor here, you don't know your name. Professor was looking, because she's interested in research. And you can go there and read the research on it if you're interested in research more than just what words or what grammar. It's clear the English vocabulary profile is the furthest along, but this will eventually be made available also for grammar, functions, all of that. Okay? You can get involved by submitting a research proposal. Go online, click on that and find out how, if you'd like to submit a research proposal. You can subscribe to the newsletter, okay? And what I'd like to ask you to do is to think about getting involved by giving data. Because most of the data, I don't know what the difference is. One is American, one's British English.
Yeah, data is British, data is
okay, I'm sort of in between like that. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. Most of the
data.
Thank you. Most of the data for the moment comes from the Cambridge Learner Corpus. But also we're starting to collect other data, and also this data will come from everyone, learners and or native speaker, near native speakers around the world. So we can have a Cambridge English profile corpus. All right? You fill out something like that. Okay, okay, like that. Make sure you're not a machine trying to get in and hack it like that. Okay, fill out your details. You don't have to, but if you want, and then you can submit data, okay, spoken or written data, to put in the Cambridge English Profile Corpus to make this corpus living and reflect what a living body of language is doing. If you notice there, for the moment, India is not colored in at all. So we haven't got any, so you can be the first one there from India, okay? And then there are countries missing, Africa completely and all of that. But more and more it's coming in, not just the Cambridge Learner Corpus, but data from teachers getting involved in the project, okay? So that's,
Sorry.
sure.
Is it different for business? Because we are from a business environment.
It doesn't matter who. Okay.
Is it the same?
If you'd like to, like that, okay? Quite frankly, I don't know if the English profile is going to go right away into the difference between business, academic, and general English. I mean, it's a huge project just starting with general English from A1 to C2. But eventually, why not? Okay? Why not? If you'd like to. I'm sure they're not going to say no. They're asking for data like that, yeah? Okay, can I just, because I actually after this, just to review, then questions in 5 minutes, a couple of jokes as we go away. So what we were trying to do, my roadmap, if you were, we were looking at English profile, what it is, reference level descriptions for English, who's involved in it, all of these important organizations, what is it for? It's for learners and teachers, publishers, applied linguists, all of that, and how it works, trying to look at how it works using corpus linguistics, okay? Now, questions, comments, okay? Anyone? Got her question. Her question was about, can I give my business English students work as data? Of course, okay? Yep.
It's a similar question, but you were talking about people signing in and sending their data. Right, now supposing I haven't been very sure about, let's say as a teacher, I get students to write on all kinds of topics, not necessarily English essays.
English essays, okay.
Meaning not
Sure.
proficiency essays, it's not writing as writing. They're writing on, let's say, the use of the first language in English.
Right.
The topic could be academic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. And then, if let's say I ask 20 students to contribute, will it be theirs, or should I ask every one of them to register?
No, wait a second, time out here.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear about...
Two things there. First of all, if you have learners, your students I'm thinking, if you have learners who'd like to go and look, they can too. It's open to learners, individual learners, if they want. But the individual learners, if they're going to submit their data, they do it through you, through the person who's doing that.
Okay.
They don't have to go and do it. What we're looking for now is people who have access to lots of students, okay?
So you just want
Lots of
soft
learners,
copies.
not only
So
students.
all you need is soft copies.
Well, no, they're going to ask you to do it by computer.
Yeah, exactly. Most of my students are anyway submitting assignments
Yep.
typed in.
Yep. Then if you register there, they'll tell you all of the steps. One being get your students okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Like that. And they'll tell you how to do it and all of that. Yeah.
And you have a length specification, word length.
What do you mean by word length?
How many? See,
Word length.
Word
Sorry.
length.
I don't know.
Is there a max? Is there a minimum?
Don't know.
What happens if I have a student who sent me a term paper for 4,000 words?
Well,
You don't need 4,000 words from one person.
I really don't know, but I do have an example. Who was talking about business English. For the Cambridge academic corpus, they asked people around the world, including Cambridge employees, to send in their academic essays. Okay? All of mine were, I don't have them on they're all typewritten. I'm an old man. Anyhow, and some people sent in their master's theses.
Okay, you've answered my question.
But wait a second, that was for the Cambridge academic corpus, which eventually will feed into this.
Right.
But for the moment, it's just general English like
Okay.
that. But they would answer that question. When you
Right.
go to that link, come on, get it? When
Right.
you go to that link, okay, they'll tell you how to do it, what they would like.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay? Yeah,
So
I saw another hand.
Okay, yeah. Let somebody else ask
I was
questions.
actually going to say that I would imagine that they would, you've answered the question though, Gary, that they would tell you precisely what they want, or they would make some judicial decision about how much of that particular piece they want, because if you look at any corpus, a corpus will give you the information about the source. So they may only take a very small fraction of something if your student, but as you say, Gary, they will tell you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can see it working like you send something in and they do a search on, I don't know, give me an expression. I can't think of an expression or whatever like that. Well, make do. They search for make do, and then they find out students who have done it correctly or incorrectly, and that will feed into the English profile corpus. Okay? All right. Questions, comments?
I think particularly as well, it's going to be interesting looking at any contributions that come from countries like India or say Jamaica or Singapore or whatever, because then we have these variations of English, and they'll be able to see once the tagging is all done, or you'll be able to see that a particular structure is used in a particular way in a particular country in a particular style. So that's the whole point of it, that you're seeing language, how it's used.
Very good point, Angela. Because for the moment it's American versus British English, but there is English is well, I don't know how you stand, and I can't say like that about, you know, Indian English being native speaker or whatever. I would say yes, but I really don't know. However, it's different. My wife and I were here for our 30th anniversary. We were in Kerala, how do you say it?
Kerala.
And we were traveling around, and the Indians would all come up to us, seeing we're not Indian, and they'd say, okay, oh, sir, where are you coming from? Where are you coming from?
Right.
Okay, and I'd say, let's see, yesterday we were in Mumbai, then we
No,
were at the
that's not what they're
and they
asking.
looked at me because I didn't understand how they were using
That's not
it.
what
My
they're
wife understood, my wife's French, well, my former wife, but let's not get into that. Anyhow, my wife would understand, you know, right away. She said, oh, Gary, shut up, shut up. You know, we're coming from France. We're coming from France. A little different for me in in Indian English than, you know, than for me. So this is another example, and Angela's point, if we can get things from Jamaican English, is that, you know, and Indian English and all of that. Okay. I just got my 5-minute buzz on this, so if there's a last question or comment, if not, I think I'll wrap this up. Okay? Okay.
Sorry to have been the person asking the most questions, but sounds selfish, but it's not a selfish question as far as I can see. What does a contributor, how does a contributor stand to gain by contributing to the corpus? I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm asking it because...
No.
See, because
It
if
is
I'm
a little
going to
bit
tell
of
my
work.
students, give me the corpus, they're going to ask me, why should I?
Well,
So,
the only thing you
I'm
really...
articulating it.
No, it's good. The only thing you really gain is having your name up there.
And access to the corpus.
Having your, this is from Argentina. I can't see what that is. That's their logo, and it goes all the way down. But India, that's one little thing that you get. You also be invited, not paid for, but invited every year. Is there one or two? I think there's
seminars.
There might be two. There are seminars, places around the world of contributors and people who have published for English Profile, and you would be notified and invited, not paid for.
No,
It's like that. Okay?
But do I get access to the corpus if I want to do some research work?
No, for the moment, not.
Not.
You have, no, for the moment, not. You can ask for it.
But
like
if
that.
I do
But
a research proposal and it gets accepted, then I get access.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm doing what Adrian Holiday said. For the moment, you would have access to the vocabulary corpus, eventually the grammar, phonology, and all of that everyone will have. But contributors, as far as I know, people are doing research, Mike, don't know, I have to ask that on submitting a research proposal.
Fine.
Okay? I hope you do this in class. When you don't know the answer, you know,
Yeah,
you
we
say,
can
I
say,
don't know
"I'll
the
find
answer.
out."
You know? Okay?
No, but that's fine.
That's fine, like that, yeah. Okay. It's more difficult, I mean, it's easy with you, because you're all teachers like that, but, you know, my students used to always say, Gary, what does this word mean? And I say, hey, I'm not a walking dictionary.
Yeah.
Look it up in your own dictionary. But for them, you are sort of a walking dictionary, pronunciation box, grammar book, and all of that. But you got to be honest, so I'm not exactly sure. I'll look into it. I'll ask the corpus linguist. Okay. So, this idea that English Profile will describe English, provide our community of descriptors of what it means at a CEF level, and enhance our profession of learning, teaching, and assessment worldwide. Perhaps a few years from now, anyone wanting to know about teaching or learning English will turn to English Profile. For the moment, materials like this Cambridge course, it doesn't matter, are informed by the Common European Framework. You see on the publisher's stands out there, you'll have pre-intermediate B1, upper intermediate C1, because they've been informed and matched to the Common European Framework. But in the future, any course from any publisher, any materials, will be informed by English Profile. That's where our profession is going, right? What's the next one? Someone told me, oh yeah, English Profile is going to be the periodic table of ELT. Remember chemistry? Remember studying your chemistry? You know? Okay. You never study chemistry? Okay, it doesn't matter, but you know what a periodic table is. And this idea that, you know, you have to learn not to put this together with that, or, you know, something will blow up, right? And conversation can blow up also if we're not putting the chunks of language together, if we're not pronouncing the word correctly, if we're, that can happen also. However, very important, differently than the periodic table, is English profile will be descriptive, not prescriptive at all. Just giving you how it's describing the language at the different levels of the CEFR, and also what language is used at that. It doesn't mean that your learners come into the room and they're only A2 and they say, rather than, can you turn off the air conditioning, if they say, excuse me, would you mind, would you be so kind, it is a bother for you to turn off the air conditioning. If they say that, you're not going to say to them, hey, come on, you're an A2, so don't say that, don't say that. You're going to expose them to the most common, but if they say something, it's all right. In other words, it's not a straitjacket. It's not a straitjacket for learners at all. Oh my goodness, I can't say that. Okay, I'm just an A2. Okay, no, it's not a straitjacket at all. It's this idea of giving the Emperor CEF clothes for different levels, clothes for different occasions. Okay, clothing the Emperor CEF like that. Okay, so that's English profile. I'm going to play the music there. And, we're a small group, but I'm going to thank you for coming, but also I'm going to do something you're not supposed to do in a presentation. Don't turn your back on the audience. But I'm going to do it because I'm going to thank all of these people down here, all of these organizations. I'm going to thank them for us and thank you for coming also. I hope I brought you a little bit into the in crowd as far as Cambridge English profile. Thank you.